Jeff, this week we're in Gaithersburg, Montgomery County. Gaithersburg is truly a train town, a rail town, and right in the middle of town, a museum to commemorate it. Whether it's the MARC commuter line to District of Columbia, or Amtrak from Chicago, or long freight trains carrying cars from Detroit, there is constant traffic on the rail line that goes right through the center of the town, and it's been that way for generations.
That was a coal train. We have lots of them coming through. That one was actually running empty, all those cars, and going back up to Western Maryland to get coal. And then they come back down. This line is called the Metropolitan Line, but they'll come down and they'll bring the coal in to run the power plants in D.C. Fells Point and the metropolitan area here.
Nancy Wild is the director of the Gaithersburg Community Museum. Laura Sharp is the historian here.
The mills and the agriculture in the area needed to be able to get their produce, their grains and whatever out of this area. And so when the railroad started to expand, we had local families, Gaither and Clopper and some others, who were very busy trying to get them to come through this way. And Gaithersburg developed, this part of the town developed because of the railroad.
Underneath the forest oak tree that we take as a symbol for the city, the Gaither family built their home. And the Gaither family was very heavily involved in some of the development of the city itself, including the railway.
And what did Gaither do?
Gaither was a local business owner and landowner. From what we can tell, there were a number of different enterprises.
Tell me a little bit about what's in the museum.
Okay, we have an exhibit about banking in Gaithersburg. We had the First National Bank was one of our early industries organizations here in Gaithersburg, which is representative of that bank. And the kids can come in, and here comes the train for us. They can make change, they can use the stamp to put the dollar amounts in, and they can learn about banking in Gaithersburg. We have a school, which is sort of representational of many different generations from the 1800s, the desks with the chairs attached and the chalk and the slate boards, and we actually have an original slate board from the Gaithersburg school, the original school. We also have an exhibit about our mercantiles in Gaithersburg. We had a hardware store and a department store, and we still have actually Wolfson's department store downtown Gaithersburg here, Old Town, which looks pretty much like they looked in the 1950s and 60s.
There's a connection between Gaithersburg and the assassination of President Lincoln?
That's correct. One of John Wilkes Booth's associates, a man named George Azerodt, fled north out of Washington, D.C. towards a friend's farm up in Germantown, and as he was passing through Gaithersburg, he was actually given a ride, because in a rural community, when the roads are very stretched out and poorly maintained, it's kind of the nice neighborly thing to do, even if you don't really know someone, to offer them a ride if you're going in the same direction.
Was it Gaither that gave him a ride?
Believe so. No one was ever charged with anything. There's no aiding and abetting deep, sordid history. It was just an innocent mistake that was done out of charity and hospitality.
Outside the museum, a tribute to the railroad history of Gaithersburg.
We have a rolling stock exhibit as part of our museum. We have the locomotive here, the Buffalo Creek and Gully. It has been completely restored recently. It is not operational. I wish they had taken it that far, but they didn't. We also have a caboose, which has exhibit space inside as part of our museum, and that's more where our rail exhibit is. And then we have a Bud car, which is a passenger car, stainless steel. They were developed in the late 50s, early 60s, and this one actually ran on this line, on the Metropolitan Line, carrying commuters to and from work.
Jeff, it's a great little museum, lots of history here, and it's right smack in the middle of Gaithersburg. It's free, and it's open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 10 to 2. I'm Lou Davis for State Circle.